Sound, music, sustainability. Welcome to Sustain FM. Sound and music are in many ways ethereal and quite literally float through the air with no environmental impact. But especially in the electronic music world, the gear that makes sound, transmits sound, records sound, and drives the dance floor does have an environmental impact. So what does that mean for a sustainable electronic music scene? Today, we talk with Priscilla Haring-Kuipers of This Is Not Rocket Science in Amsterdam about this and more. Together with her husband, Stijn, they design, make, sell, and perform with modular synthesizers. Her background's in marketing, social sciences, media psychology, and game-based learning. And I've had the chance to talk with Priscilla over the years about their company's approach to sustainability, and I'm really excited to go deeper with that conversation today. So welcome, Priscilla.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Yeah, it's great to have you. So I guess before we get started into the details, I'm always curious about people that are both makers and artists, about kind of how they got where they are today. So you're an artist and you're a performer and you're also GM of This Is Not Rocket Science. So I'm curious, did you start with the electronics and gear side and then move into music, or was it starting more with the sound and music side and then moving more into hardware, or a bit of both? Or I'm curious how that started.
So I come from mainly singing, and I remember with being a teenager, being with friends, that someone has a guitar and somebody maybe has a drum, and you just sit outside and you sort of improvise or play the songs that were, of that moment, which in my case was like a little bit of Guns N' Roses, maybe a little
Nice.
bit of Anouk in the Netherlands.
Mm.
So I've always been a singer, but I'm not like trained as a singer. I've just always been singing. Yeah.
Okay.
So from that, when I met my husband, who's been making synthesizers either in software or hardware for years, mostly in software before we met, um, there's this musical sharing that you have,
Mm.
even though you come from very different uh, backgrounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And your interests are not just music, but you're also working with games like the Solar Punk series. So, what is it about games that interest you, and why Solar Punk? By the way, I love that term. I've heard of cyberpunk before, but not Solar
Yeah.
Punk. It's a pretty cool term.
Yeah, thank you. So the games part is I come from the social sciences and then media psychology,
Hmm.
and I'm just really interested in why humans do anything and what makes us happy, what makes us um, do stuff of our own accord, and
Mm.
when
Okay.
are we in a creative process, in a playful process, and just the power of play.
Hmm.
And then within the structure of games, that provides a structure of creating worlds and having rules, and also a setting in which research might be done, which is the rest of my passion for that. It's effect research of serious games or game-based learning. So if you have an intention when you make something,
Hmm.
usually educational or in the medical sphere, how do you then test that that intention has actually been reached?
Mm.
Um, yeah. So that same attitude of experimentation, you think of something you want and then you test it with reality,
Hmm.
is also very much in our company. Uh, we or Stein think of something that he might wants to make, and then your first putting it into reality experiment is making it physical,
Hmm.
making it
Hmm.
actually work, and then you put it into the reality of using it or having
Mm.
other people use it, and then see what it makes. And if you like what it makes, then we make more,
Right.
and we use them ourselves also to perform with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's I mean that's actually a really good segue, because I want to talk more about the products and sort of and what you do make. So getting a little bit more into the sustainability side. I know This Is Not Rocket Science is doing a lot around sustainability, and I want to talk about that in a few minutes. But before we talk about the details of what your organization is doing, I'm curious your thoughts on like why does this matter, or maybe why do you think gear manufacturers in general should be thinking about sustainability?
Mm. I think everybody should be thinking about sustainability,
Right. Okay.
preferably.
Hmm.
And as a consumer, you then have responsibility of what do you consume, how
Hmm.
do you spend money,
Hmm.
uh, and as a manufacturer, you, I guess, have the same sort of responsibility. And then how do you make,
Mm.
and why do you make, and what do you make?
Right.
And just like the consumer, like maybe you shouldn't buy all this stuff. The maker also has, I think, should face the question, well, maybe you shouldn't make this.
Mm.
Is it actually worth the resources, the time, the effort that goes into anything you make physical
Hmm.
or make digital, um, to have this? How did, and that the answer to that question is still up to ourselves. That is a
Hmm.
very individual subjective thing where I get to decide when I think, yeah, okay, this is valuable enough to go and make and
Hmm.
bother sort of resources with this idea of mine.
Hmm. Okay. And
Yeah.
when you say most valuable, I think that's an interesting question, right? Because there's sort of different ways of defining valuable. You could, from a purely capitalist point of view, you could say, well, if we make money, it's valuable. If we don't, it's not valuable. But of course, from a sustainability side, there may be other ways of thinking about that. So when you think about what's valuable, how are you approaching that question of what does valuable mean for you?
We have a few things. So the in sort of the fundament of
Hmm.
everything is the type of thing we make we find valuable
Hmm.
because it supports what we call the happy chain or the
Hmm.
arts. So we make something that makes the people who make music with it happy, and then they make other people who listen to the music with it happy. And
Hmm.
I am a great fan and believer of the dance floor and
Right.
communal celebration that
Hmm.
music supports. So this is where we get, I think, most of our is this valuable? We
Mm.
see it in that way.
Mm. Okay.
And secondary, it's not unimportant, but it comes secondary is uh, how does this make money?
Right. Right.
Because we are a business and not a not for profit,
Hmm.
but it is secondary or maybe even the third or the fourth question or thing we use as a parameter of will we make something or not.
Hmm.
It's not the first.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good lead into maybe talking a little bit more specifically about your company. So we talked a little bit in general about sustainability and sort of what's valuable, but I'm curious this is not rocket science in particular. How are you approaching sustainability as a hardware manufacturer? And I'm also curious around what were the biggest things you decided to tackle? Because as a manufacturer, there's probably a million things you could look at, but I'm curious what you chose as kind of the priorities to focus on.
I think it's very much shaped by what do you feel you can do and you can change.
Hmm.
Um, but it also comes very much from that design question, like do we make this or not? Or do
Hmm.
we make it, but maybe just only one for ourselves?
Hmm.
So that to me has a very big part of that sustainability issue that you really question that not everything should just be made.
Mm.
So there, I think, um, so it's a philosophical answer to a very physical question, but also there are parts of especially electronics manufacturing that
Hmm.
are just not good, and I have so far not found any way around that. Although I keep trying, but
Hmm.
I'm also not basing my entire process on trying to avoid these very difficult things, like what the PCB is made of.
Mm.
It's like a petrochemical and I think glass fiber substrate with copper layers in it. Copper is not even that much of an issue. And what makes it great to work with, it's extremely durable,
Hmm.
makes it a horrible sustainability wise product
Right.
because it's going to stay around forever and you can't really recycle it
Hmm.
because it's too filled and too mixed with other chemicals.
Hmm.
And so far we don't really have a good other option to build electronics on. I do have sort of my feelers up for the more organical compounds that are being used, but they're all still in research and in labs and not really available for market, especially not for the small scale type of thing that we are. So what we have done is we try to build everything in a way that it's fixable, that you can repair things. We try to build things in a way that they last. We have sort of made up our own. It has to last at least 50 years. And there we are lucky with the type of electronics that we're in, because musical instruments get treated that way. They get cleaned, they get fixed when they're broken. And we are always available as a manufacturer to support people doing that themselves, or support shops that have repair services. So I guess that is our biggest sustainable pathway. The other one is just kind of the smaller things, like the packaging, or where do we print all the manuals, or can we get rid of the plastics in our also in our packaging. But that's that's stuff that we do and we should do, but I know that that's not where the real big problems are.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things there that I want to dig into more, but maybe one is I'm curious around whether these are things you've decided to do on your own, or is this kind of driven by rules and regulations, either nationally or in the EU? One of the reasons I'm asking about that is that I know you've written about the process for finding the carbon footprint of electronics projects, for example.
Yeah.
So I'm curious whether that's kind of a requirement for you as a manufacturer, or something you've chosen to do on your own?
Yeah, that's not at all a requirement. Also, so far, not for the bigger companies. It might well be in future. So that those are all choices that we've just made, or questions that we've asked ourselves. And we try, or I try to do this asking of the question, and maybe or maybe not finding an answer as public as possible. What you've just mentioned is an article that I've written for the Elector magazine. It's the first article I wrote for them about ethics in electronics, where just very publicly try to figure out, okay, so we have well, that wasn't a tiny electronic projects, because the Phoenix is pretty big. But if you're not, Yamaha or something, how do you figure out what your carbon costs and other impacts on the environment are? How do I do that? And in that case, I did find a database that could provide some answers, and the whole calculation is just, or the highlights of it is in the article, which also comes out with a number which I don't remember, but at the end there's like, okay, so we've made 100 of this is how much carbon footprint that has. Which is not a rule or any legislation or anything we had to do. It's just something that I really wanted to figure out, and also show other people that do electronic projects that this is possible to figure out, and maybe you should.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, because it comes back to what you said a few minutes ago, talking about the type of companies, because I know that, for example, in the modular synth world, there's lots of companies. Actually, probably most of the companies are quite small. A lot of them are under 10 people. A lot of them are 3 people, 2 people, even 1 person that's just making stuff. Not the same as Yamaha or Roland, that can have a whole sustainability department or procurement department. A lot of times the procurement department and the marketing and the promotion and the shipping is you, the one person who's actually making this stuff. So I'm curious, how does that show up, or what does that sort of feel like for those smaller companies? Because when I've talked to some of the smaller module manufacturers, a lot of them seem to be interested in this idea, but also feel a little bit overwhelmed of just trying to get their stuff done. I'm curious how you Yeah, I
Oh,
guess it depends whether you think of it as an
definitely.
add-on or embedded or
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is truly important to you? That
Hmm.
becomes a question then. But yeah, a lot is driven by it. Once, we've decided to make something, then
Hmm.
the process of making that is already just, all of or most of your time.
Hmm.
And anything you want to ask yourself or figure out or adjust around that is just going to take you more time and effort.
Hmm.
That's absolutely true. And
Hmm.
I think the most limiting factor at the moment for a few other things that I want to do is just time.
Hmm.
We're two people, and it's Stein's, my husband's, full-time occupation,
Hmm.
mine sort of part-time, like in between part-time and full-time.
Hmm.
And that's it.
Right.
That's what's doing all these things.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
anything you want to add to that, yeah, it takes time away from doing something else.
Hmm.
That is not a trivial concern. I get that if you're
Hmm.
just a one person or two person company, that you're like, yeah, well, I would like to look into this, but I
Hmm.
don't know where to start, and I don't have the time to figure this out.
Hmm. Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, so
yeah,
at least, yeah, writing those articles gives people that place to start. And the other thing I'm interested is it's really kind of the two sides of that, right? Because there's the the makers and then and the consumers, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about because back a couple of years ago at Superbooth in Berlin, I interviewed I think 25 different modular manufacturers and asked them different questions about how they were thinking about sustainability and so on. And almost everyone I spoke to was thinking about sustainability in some ways and around their
hmm
product design or
hmm
manufacturing, which I found very encouraging. But at the same time, I asked everyone whether their customers were asking them about their sustainability. And almost no one said that the customers were asking about sustainability. So I'm
yep.
curious from your side, is that something that you see? I mean, do you have customers or potential customers or distributors asking about sustainability practices from what
No,
you're making?
no, not at all. I do find there's an appreciation for it if you put the information out there
Hmm.
that you're doing something.
Right.
But I have never had a question from a customer or potential customer like, but okay, but so how do you produce this? And could you possibly do that more sustainable? Or no, nope.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
it's definitely not coming from that way, although it is appreciated,
Hmm.
but um, the flow is not starting from that
Right.
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that fascinating because that's a common thing that I've heard from other manufacturers. But if you think about other industries, for example, food, people asking whether it's organic or looking for alternatives to meat, or people look like sustainable travel is a huge thing that people are searching for, or looking at buying carbon credits to offset flights. So other industries, consumers are thinking about sustainability in their purchases, but it does not seem to be the case with this seed. I mean, I'm not quite sure why that is. Do you have any thoughts on why that might be why that might be different from, say, choosing to buy organic instead of non-organic, or choosing
Yeah.
to travel by train instead of plane?
Well, first of all, uh, it's not real an option in anybody's head as a consumer that
Mm,
this can be discussed.
right. Okay.
It's not really a thing. I think, as far as I've seen, um, that consumers have the category of synthesizers in their head of something that might be sustainable or not sustainable.
Okay.
That's just not how it's considered.
Hmm.
So by now we consider food like either, vegan, vegetarian, or
Mm,
with meat, or it's
right.
organic, or it's organic. We're very used to having this category of things being considered in those ways.
Right.
Not many people have considered electronic instruments, synthesizers, uh, even virtual ones like digital synthesizers, software synthesizers, as there's a sustainability question here that we could ask.
Right.
I don't think that's in anyone's mind yet. Maybe we should put it there.
Yeah.
Just that there could be a question
Yeah.
on the sustainability of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So that's another great segue, actually. So far we've talked mostly about manufacturing and gear, a little bit about games, but you don't just make stuff; you actually use it and perform live on stage as well. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about, given your range of thought and background on making, on games, and sustainability, I'm curious how or if that shows up in your performances and your music when you're bringing these things actually on stage and out into the public and into the clubs.
I'm not sure where like environmental sustainability comes into it, but
Hmm.
the same experimental nature and the same idea of let's get as many people involved as we can, and also let's use the position that we have. So we organize now Club Synth,
Hmm.
which is a night which should have like a clubhouse kind of feel
Hmm.
with only modular synthesizer performers. The venue already is kind of it's an artist village place. It was squatted in the 80s, and ever since then, sort of hippies have been living there. It's
Right.
called Ruigoord. Um, so that already has that really open and get everybody together um, feel to it.
Hmm.
And we try to be mindful, which also to me has very much hooks into sustainability, is just being mindful of things
Hmm.
and questioning things that might seem as a given but aren't. So we try to be mindful when we have this stage that we get people on there, some that are very experienced and some that are not.
Hmm.
So we use the privilege that we have of organizing this to get the people on the floor a different experience of modular synthesizers,
Hmm.
but also the people on the stage get to be a mix of uh, sort of veterans and newbies
Right.
in performing this way.
So think about the scene in the community in a sustainable way.
Yeah, yeah, like that. So it doesn't sound like environmental sustainability, but I think it has a lot of the same trying to be considerate
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
the essence of both things, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that is in there. In the performance itself, um, I'm not sure how sustainability is in that. I don't think really. I am trying to build. I've built a like a little vocal pack of things before,
Hmm.
and I want to build another little vocal pack around the concept of solar punk.
Hmm.
So there is very obvious, um, but I'm not sure how it's if it's in the live performing. Yeah.
Step by step, year by year, the world is improving. Not on every single measure, every single year, but as a rule. Though the world faces huge challenges, we have made tremendous progress. This is data as you've never known it. It is data as therapy. Because the world is not as dramatic as it seems. Factfulness, like a healthy diet and regular exercise, can and should become part of your daily life. Start to practice it, and you will be able to replace your overdramatic worldview with a worldview based on facts. You will be able to get the world right without learning it by heart. You will make better decisions. Stay alert to real dangers and possibilities, and avoid being constantly stressed out about the wrong things. Cultures, nations, religions, and people are not rocks. They are in constant transformation.
So we just heard a few samples from that vocal pack that you mentioned, and the ones that I included here were just there's a lot there, but these were just a few that I found really interesting. Actually, connection to sustainability, sort of building on what you just said there around sort of going, I think, beyond just environmental sustainability, and one in particular that I really liked was the one that says cultures, nations, religions, and people are not rocks. They are in constant transformation.
Oh.
So I'm really curious what you think being in constant transformation means for sustainability, like not just in manufacturing. Because for me, coming as a researcher, my research background is sustainability, transitions, and transformation. So when I heard that, I was like, yes,
Right.
okay, that's an
Yes.
amazing connection. That's great.
So let's see. The question was, how is transformation and sustainability connected?
Yeah, I mean, what you say, you say these things are in constant transformation. I think that's an
Yes.
interesting phrase.
Humans are. So this gives us the opportunity to transform into a more sustainable onto a more sustainable path, into a more sustainable way, into a more sustainable life. So because we are ever changing, and we think these things that are now are somehow have always been this way. This is nonsense. Life has been very, very different, and not necessarily worse. Life has possibly been better in very different circumstances. So our constant changing, I think, enables us to change into being something more sustainable, living something more sustainable than we do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's a very hopeful
This is
thought.
the hope.
I
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. That's the hope.
Exactly. All right. Well, on that hopeful note, maybe we can wrap things up. But thank you so much for chatting today. I really appreciate that. And we're now, as usual, with the Sustain podcast, we'll close the show with a live performance. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear, where the performance was, what people are going to hear when they listen?
So this is a recording of us performing at the last Club Synth. So this is at Ruigoord at the venue. Unfortunately, the recording is on the line. How do you say that? On the line recording, and the performance is in this church, which comes with a massive amount of what I call free reverb.
Right.
So it sounds a little bit different now in the audio than it did in the moment. And I got to say, we've done a lot of performances, and we do usually record them, but I never usually publish that, because there is something about things that work in the moment that do not translate when you listen to them afterwards, especially with like there's no sound of the audience. There's half of the reverb is missing. But anyway, and what you're hearing is Stijn behind the modular synthesizers and me behind a microphone. And for one part, which I think White Rabbit is a part that you're going to hear, my voice goes through lots of effects. So I'm really going through the modular system. For other parts, my voice is separate, just goes over the rest of the music. And some tracks or movements we've kind of practiced. That is, we've agreed beforehand on a scale and a rhythm, so I know where I can place lyrics of existing music. So let's have a kiki is one of the first things that happens. But most of the rest is completely improvised. So I just do what it triggers in me at the moment.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. We really appreciate that. So, and thanks very much for the chat. And as usual, in the show notes, we'll include links to This Is Not Rocket Science, some of the articles we mentioned, to the vocal pack, and also to the Club Synth event, which is going to be a regular thing. So, thank you very much for chatting with us. And can't wait to see you in the Netherlands this summer.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're great. You should come to the next Club Synth at Lunchwell.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks for chatting.
Thank you.
your up, girl, 'cause we are all coming over. Lock the doors, lower the blinds, fire up the smoke machine and put on your heels. 'Cause I know exactly what we need. I know exactly what we need. al die kabels en al die lichtjes hier. This is live. This is synthesized. And most of this is improvised. This is live. This is synthesized. And we just really hope you feel it. We pay tribute to some golden oldies, to some real bangers that we love. But we take it on a spin, and we make it our own thing. Welcome to our house, where we can feel it. Welcome to our house, where you can be free to enjoy however you like. Welcome to our house, where we only want to vibe together. Welcome to our house, where we are not afraid to need and be with each other. You can do it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. she was just a song. slabs and a tin on the surface at the bottom.
Okay, thanks for listening to Sustain. Hope to catch you again next time. Be sure to sign up for our email list on our website, sustain.fm. Follow our Instagram, also sustain.fm. You get more info on the radio show, in-person events in different cities, live streams, and more. All right, until next time, see you on the dance floor.